Um, so without further ado, we'll jump straight into the first of the presentations today. So we have Farad AI, who are going to present their project. So if you'd like to start sharing your slides and turn on the camera, whoever's presenting. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Richard. Can you see me and can you see the slide as well?
Yeah, I can see both.
Perfect. Well, thank you, David and Richard. My name is Ali Safari, and I'm the founder of Farad AI. Hopefully, at the end of this presentation, we are hoping that you will be leaving with 3 key takeaways. Number 1, what is our view of the problem that the power industry is going to be facing in the soon future? 2, why we are uniquely positioned to address these challenges? And 3, the progress that we have made over the last 3 months. Farad AI is an impact-driven startup. We believe in having a lasting positive impact on the future of our planet, people and communities, as well as the global economy through innovation and developing great products. Our current mission is to develop a multi-layered predictive analytics platform that we can help energy stakeholders in the power system to accelerate the transition to a net zero future. But what's our view of the problem? We have a big problem, climate change. Climate change is going to be impacting every single person on the planet in this century. The good news is more than 70% of the global economy have committed to a net zero future. That means most of our energy need is going to come from clean electricity. But the power industry globally is broken. It was not designed to operate in such a system. In particular, it has poor visibility of load and grid capacity at the last mile of the network. Why is that important? If we want to enable a net zero power system of the future, lots and lots of low carbon energy technologies, they will be connected to this part of the network. However, the impact and the second order consequence of these events are not understood at all. And you might be thinking, so what? So why does it matter? Why is it important? How is it going to impact me? The reality is, without solving this visibility problem, we will have critical power failures. We won't have access to reliable electricity, something that we take for granted on a day-to-day basis. But why we are uniquely positioned to address these challenges? As the climate change is a global problem, we also believe that the solution needs global collaboration. At Farad AI, our team represents more than 11 countries in the globe. We believe that diverse teams perform better. In addition to that, we're bringing completely different skill set, but complementary in the same team. Our science team combines power systems, graph theory, and AI. In addition to that, we're bringing product expertise, design expertise, and commercial expertise so we can innovate on a day-to-day basis. And finally, access to energy datasets. The UK, they have been leading the energy policies globally for the last few decades. In energy transition, yet again, they're showing leadership again. They're pushing the industry to open up access to datasets. So innovators like us, we can have access to those datasets and we can innovate on a day-to-day basis. With these 3 key ingredients, I think that we have the foundation to have a positive impact in the power system, but also develop a leading company. Over the last 3 months, we have been fortunate and proud that UKRI have been supporting our vision. For the rest of the presentation, my team, they will be telling you more about the progress that we have made over the last 3 months. Alice, our operation lead, is going to be talking about how we set the foundation for success and future growth. Andy is going to be talking about the product and technology that we develop, and I'm super excited about it. And Rebecca is going to be talking about the use cases and our commercial strategy and how we're commercializing our technology and the product. Handing over to Alice, would you mind?
Thanks, Ali. As Ali's mentioned, we're lucky to be working on an important problem. And as a team, we've managed to use approaches. I'm going to take you through how we've done this, how we drive impact. We're an impact-driven company, how we assess our impacts, and how we widen our impact to create real change across the industry as a whole. We drive impact through our agile and sustainable governance. We've used some of the best practices in product development, such as human-centered design and equality, diversity, inclusion practices, not only in the product development, but also within our governance as a team. We are lucky in the UK to have a lot of excellent world-leading STEM grads, but something we've noticed as part of our user mapping and team mapping is that they don't feel like they have enough of a challenge or a worthwhile challenge to work on. We allow them at Farad AI to have an impact early on in their career by giving them agency and ownership in an agile environment so that they can see the fruits of their labor very quickly and drive innovation for the industry as a whole. In terms of equality, diversity, and inclusion, it's at our core. We're lucky to have a team that represents several nationalities over just 12 team members. And we've achieved 50-50 parity, both at the leadership and the team level. So it's had a huge impact on the way we develop our products, the way we interact with our customers. And whilst we've been interacting with users as a whole to represent this, internally, we've already come up with accessibility mindsets. So for example, including accessibility features into our final products and on the platform to make sure that all our users can use the products as intended. It's one thing to talk about assess impact, but it's another thing to assess it. The way we've done it is to have a very rigorous legal way of assessing our progress. We've chosen the B Corp assessment because they focus on the sustainable development goals of the UN, and they have a legal requirement for a triple bottom line, which means that we have to take legal governance and environmental considerations into account as a company. This is a notoriously rigorous assessment, and most companies achieve only 50 points during the assessment. As a company, we've achieved 106 points as part of our initial assessment, which shows our deep commitment to sustainability and governance. Whilst it's great to work on this governance and impact internally, it has limited impact if we're only focusing inwards. So part of our focus is engaging in the industry as a whole. As part of that, we've focused on the Icebreaker One's data openness efforts. This is key to us and key to the future of the industry. We have to have data openness to be able to innovate. And we've interacted with Icebreaker One, both responding to their feedback and giving them feedback on their platform, but also incorporating their best practices and data architecture within our own products so that we can seamlessly integrate with the open data platform when it launches. We're also externally committed to educating the public. We most recently engaged with the public in a Mayor of London event and got a chance to educate the general public on the issues in the energy industry that most don't know about. We've also stayed abreast of industry developments by attending off-German base events, and particularly have focused on the networking opportunities with other startups and more established companies in the industry to find ways to collaborate and make sure that we're not duplicating our efforts so that we can accelerate the transition to net zero. I'm now going to hand over to Andy, who'll take you through our product.
Great, thanks, Alice. Yeah, I think so. If I were to summarize what we're developing in one sentence, I think it would be a multi-sectoral analytics platform for decarbonization and carbon-free development. Starting from the assessment of an available connection to the grid, our platform follows the decision-making process for construction and development projects across all sectors and guides the users towards optimal locations for their new development sites. This platform has been made possible by the UK's world-leading position in opening up access to power systems datasets. But as Ali mentioned earlier, complete visibility is still lacking, especially at the low voltage end of the grid. So by combining datasets across our 5 core fields, power systems engineering, traffic flow modeling, planning legislation, land use geography, and socioeconomics, we can overcome this problem of lack of data at the low voltage network from the energy industry to understand the nationwide demand and generation landscape of the power grid in the UK. And that's what we've done. Over the past 3 months, we've accumulated over 40 million data points from over 25 independent datasets from our 5 core fields. These datasets can be linked, cross-searched, and analyzed in under 30 seconds. The powerful backend on which our platform is built can then be accessed through an API that is scalable to thousands of users. Can I get the next slide, please? At the heart of the technology that we're building really is a world-leading digital power grid. The energy industry, as Ali said, is undergoing a vast structural transition, and decarbonisation will see the demand for electricity grow faster than it has ever grown before. The way that we are satisfying that demand will shift from top down, from the transmission network, to bottom up, from the low voltage network. A power network that was only ever designed to be a one-way street is becoming bidirectional. And as a nation and a planet, we aren't prepared for it. So we're combining data from the energy industry at the transmission and the distribution level with the data that we get from our 5 core fields to provide power systems analytics across all tiers of the network. Using this technology, our users can identify bottlenecks and predict connection availability for a wide range of asset profiles, from EV chargers to renewable energy sites to residential development. When a new connection is added, our digital grid is then able to propagate the effects of this to the rest of the network through a topologically connected graphical database. Can I get the next slide, please? Once this available grid connection has been identified, we're able to give the user a unique insight and a thorough insight into the local surroundings of their development through our clean user interface. The datasets that we have combined on our backend can be toggled on and off at will by the user based on their personal needs. And by looking at geographical features such as flood zones, listed buildings, protected areas such as national parks and archaeological sites, the local land usage surrounding their potential site, substations, and the land registry datasets, we are able to assess the likelihood for planning approval based on the success and failure of past cases. So the platform that we're building, really, while it is a digital grid at heart, has many other applications to streamline the planning and development process across all sectors. Can I get the next slide, please? And the culmination, really, of all of this work over the past 3 months is Compass. It's a market-ready product for electric vehicle charging site developers to assess connection availability, planning permission likelihood, and the utilization rate and return on investment for new rapid and fast EV charging stations with nationwide coverage. This is the first use case for our digital grid, but it's the first of many. It provides the foundation that we will be using going forwards to create additional profiles for different asset types, such as housing development, renewable energy, and data centers, to assess the feasibility and the return on investment that our users and our customers will get from developing. I'll now hand over to Rebecca from our marketing team to elaborate further on our market presence.
Yes, so as Annie says, we have a market-ready product. But who is our market and who are our users? So we have a number of direct users, and we're in talks with several large power companies and many medium-sized developers in the EV charging and renewable energy sector. And for them, this is really a dream product. It allows these companies to fast-track the site selection and selection sites for their potential product. It allows a seamless transition from the planning and the selection to from weeks to minutes. And the site selection is really at the heart of these organizations and these business models. By choosing the correct site in the correct location with the correct connectivity is vital to these businesses. And by freeing up all that time in the planning and searching, it allows these companies to redistribute their CapEx into other areas and really keeps our users ahead of our competition. If we can go to the next slide, please. But we don't only have direct users, we also have some indirect users. And we have Compass, but we also have another platform, which is Sabre. And using a combination of these two, which are joined by our large backend modeling our large end model, sorry, there's my screen just moved. These indirect users are tier 1 marketing, management consultants firms and top engineering firms. And these firms can create value for themselves, but also for their clients. By streamlining their processes and their transition, it really allows them to save time and then money. And also, if they're able to fast track these processes and implement these large scale infrastructure projects, we will enable a smoother transition to a net zero future. And as a company for Farad AI, by working with these consultants, we can have impact on a national scale and also across many different disciplines. So we are having a national and interdisciplinary impact. But in the future, and if we go to the next slide, please, we are going to try and expand that scope to include local authorities and housing associations. And what we want to do there is enable these sectors to integrate their existing infrastructure with new projects and new technologies. As we all know, electric vehicles are going to become very prevalent across the country, and with that goes EV charging stations, for example. So local councils are going to need to know where to put those sites and integrate them with the connectivity and many other factors. We're able to do with our platform footprint assessments and also deployment simulations to aid them in understanding their needs going forward. And then if we look a little bit further, we can think when we have new sites and new projects, we can integrate those with understanding the connectivity to the grid and many other factors. So by partnering together, we will really enable the future of transport and energy distribution. So as we've seen from this presentation, we are assessing a very important, vital, and current issue. We feel that with our platform, which at the moment takes the form of Compass and will very shortly take the form of Sabre, and in the future there'll be many, many other use cases for this very robust platform, we feel that we're going to be able to address many issues, both that we know about and those that are already unseen. So I'll just at this point thank you all very much for listening to us. I can already see that there's a few questions that have been popping up in the chat, so I hope we'll be able to answer those for you. And again, thank you very much for listening.
Brilliant, thanks very much, guys. So we have had a few questions in the chat, so I'll just pick out a few of them to run through, and then you can decide who's the best to answer it. So we've had an interesting technical question. So how do you handle the variable timeliness of your data, and how often do you need to update it?
I think, am I the best person to take that, Ali?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Go ahead, yeah.
So in terms of how often we need to update it, that depends on where we're getting the data from. So some of the data sets are updated every month. Some of the data sets are updated every 6 months. And this is part of what we've built over the past 3 months, basically, is a robust and reliable data ingestion process, so that when a new update does come out, we can very, very quickly import the new data into our backend, and the changes will propagate through from the backend forwards. In terms of the variable timeliness of the data, what exactly do you mean by that? It's Irini.
So Irini, if you can elaborate on the chat, but I think this could refer to the fact that you have, like you said, you have some data sets that are being updated after the fact, 6 months late, and then you have some that are perhaps more real-time data sets, and maybe they have some interactions between the two. So perhaps knowing about the network map is really important to know about congestion.
Yeah.
So, you know, there's some dependencies between data sets that have very different update schedules.
I think, Richard, one of the key decisions that we've taken early on in terms of design, the best way to think about Farad AI platform is a skeleton. And then as and when more data sets become available at different parts of the network, we can ingest that into our sort of platform. and refresh the analytics as and when more data sets become available, because the energy industry is opening up more data sets, but not all of that is available right now as we speak, basically.
Okay, great, thank you. So to kind of build on that question then, so there is another one that says, does the system also take into consideration battery data points like home batteries or community scale batteries, or is that one of your development points?
Shall I take this, Andy?
Yeah, I don't mind. Yeah, do you want to take this?
I think at this stage, I think it's going to be part of the future plans that we have in order to develop the platform further. At this stage, we have, product roadmap, we have those, we have considered those things. And, and also we have spoken with the, commercial entities, which the core of the business model is providing, for example, home batteries or home battery solutions. But then, it's all about what the market needs right now, who has the majority of the pain points, and where we can have the highest impact with our platform and resources, and we're focusing our efforts there right now. But whereas we definitely have them into our roadmaps for the future, and we're definitely thinking about them. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. So there's another question that says, can the platform be used to identify future network constraint points to assist with the development of flexibility services or network reinforcement plans? So I guess there's the question of, can the platform do it? And is it something that Farad would like to do, or is that something you'd expect third parties to come in?
No, yeah. Andy, would you like to take, or shall I take this one? This is yeah, I'm super excited about this question, because
you take it then.
Yeah, this is exactly what we set up to do. So whereas, and we realized, in order for us to do that, in order for us to simulate those future scenarios and identify where the pain points in the network is going to be. For example, I'll give an example. Let's say in an area in London, we're going to have 30% penetration of EVs and 10% penetration of heat pumps, right? And then we can simulate that, and we can identify, okay, actually this 33 11 kV substation, or this 132 33 kV substation is going to be constrained at this particular time in the year and this particular time in the month. And then this is what we set up to do. But in order for us to do that, we've realized actually the skeleton doesn't exist. The infrastructure doesn't exist. So let us go and actually develop that. And once we have that developed, then we can sort of like simulate all of these future use cases using the same sort of backend technology that we've developed and addressing real users' need in the market right now.
Brilliant, thank you. So we've had a question about your engagement with Icebreaker One. So could you describe your engagement with the Icebreaker One team and any other national open data initiatives? And did that impact on the data architecture and models that you developed within your platform? And I guess in summary, has your engagement with Icebreaker One been technical, or is it around kind of introductions and kind of understanding the landscape so far?
Alice, would you like to take this one?
Absolutely. That's an excellent question, because we do believe that Icebreaker One has paved the way for data openness and real innovation. So it wasn't really enough for us to engage kind of on a surface level. We took on their architecture. So they published their GitHub and several measures that they've taken in our architecture that we integrated from as early as we could, basically. We knew in advance kind of what principles they'd be using. And so the way the entire platform is built, the data ingestion pipeline is designed to work specifically with Icebreaker One. But because it's a work in progress and they're in development as well, we've also engaged with them on a more stakeholder level. So giving feedback to the kind of events that they've done. So lately we worked on their beta, but in the past we were engaging with them, giving them user cases of what we think we've uncovered in the markets, so that we're able to work and collaborate together to truly meet industry and market needs. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant, thank you. And in terms of the feedback you've been providing into Icebreaker, are there any particular areas where you think would be really valuable to have the data providers more engaged?
This is kind of an ongoing conversation. I'll let Ali move on to this, but in general, the UK is working really well towards data openness, but there's definitely progress to be made as well. And we're working with everyone to be able to make that happen.
Yeah, I think, Richard, the way that we design our platform is with more data sets, we can refine our prediction, we can refine, the outcome of the platform. However, I think, in the UK, we're doing super well in terms of opening up data sets in power sector, and we are far ahead of other countries, but there is a lot of work to be done. So I think we've made tremendous progress, but is that enough to enable or to accelerate to a net zero transition as quickly as possible? I think there's still a lot of work to be done.
Okay, great, thank you. So there's been another question on the kind of the scope of what's in your platform. So do you look beyond electrification / power and consider other aspects of the energy transition, for example, heat networks and the potential impact they have on the power systems?
I think we did some work on basically modeling heat pumps and the impact of that on the network. We have an ongoing conversation with a couple of different DNOs about how they can use our platform to assess the impact of the heat pumps on the network. But then because those conversations are at the earliest stage, we've decided to pause those efforts and focus our resources in where we think we can have the highest impact for the industry. But then we've done the foundational work for it. But in the next 6 months or so, that will become mainstream, which will become part of the Saver, which is the second use case of the platform for the DNOs to use the platform as well.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. And I guess building on the DNO point, so there's been another question. So grid strength is likely to remain a major constraint and a significant factor for developers. How do you tackle this with the DNOs, especially when their data has holes in it? They are often reluctant to engage and are conservative with regards to anticipatory grid reinforcement.
No, of course. I think Andy, would you like to? Shall we answer half? I think what we don't want to do, we don't want to be replacing the DNOs, because that's practically impossible, right? I think what we're doing here, we are bringing that visibility as they mentioned. There's lots and lots of holes, which Andy will just cover in a sec, in the data sets. We are bringing multiple different data sets together, driving insights which was not possible in the past, and actually putting that into use cases in something that the users can easily sort of relate to, so they can do their day-to-day job, or they can be far more efficient and actually do the job better. But in terms of the holes or the technical challenges that we're facing, Andy, would you mind just sharing some of the insights that we've developed over the last couple of months?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, the I guess approach that we're taking, we're sort of trying to tackle this from two angles, because you're absolutely right. The data from the DNOs is full of holes. So we're working quite closely at the moment with WPD on getting the data sets from them that don't have holes and seeing if they can fill the holes for us. And I think that is long-term where we would want to be with the other DNOs as well. But in the meantime, in the sort of short term and medium term, those holes are being filled with the other data sets that we're collecting. So we're collecting these data sets from all different sectors and combining them to get low voltage demand, for example, and propagate it through from the data that's available.
And just to add on what Andy said, and we're not going to stop there, right? So there is a lot more data sets which is available across different industries that we think can add value to the power system. And then we have plans to source them, clean them, ingest them into our platforms, and actually just bring insights from them which the power system needs, basically.
Okay, brilliant, thank you. And in terms of when you are kind of inferring data rather than using kind of ground truth, is that clear through the platform? Is that being made obvious to your users that this is an inferred data set rather than real? ground truth?
I think, Andy, I think I'll answer this, but Andy, please do correct me or add to it. I think this is something that we're thinking in-house with our design team. So a lot of the insights that we extract is something which we call metadata, which basically just lots of different data sets we basically analyze, and actually then the algorithms, they learn from each other, and actually they learn from different data sets, and actually we do that. There hasn't been a point where we're doing some aspect of the features of data visualization, which is obvious that we're visualizing that data. But I think the analytical part is all metadata, which are algorithms, or sort of extracting insights from different data sets. So, but I think that's a great feedback, and I think we should incorporate that into our roadmap in actually highlighting which one is our analytics and which one is actually data visualization.
Okay.
Yeah,
thank you.
I think just to add very quickly, yeah, we are for the data themselves. We have highlighted, when was the data last updated? How up to date is it? Where is it from? That kind of thing. But yeah, like Ali said, it's definitely something that we should integrate on the analytics side.
Okay, fantastic. And then final question as we wrap up. So I think you touched on this a little bit in your presentation, but who would you say are your key end users, and what are the pain points that you're actually addressing through this system?
I think Rebecca's on the call. Or Rebecca, would you mind if I take this question, or would you like to take it?
No, of course, go ahead, Ali. It's fine.
Sure. I think the current users for Compass, they're going to be the project developers. So they're going to be the technical developers, which they're doing the sourcing of the site. And then, so in some of the large energy companies that we've actually delivered contracts to, we got paid. There are different teams in those energy companies. It depends on the size of the organization. So if you're a small to medium size sort of business where you're a developer, you have a couple of people which they're trying to source new opportunities. So they're going to be like the analysts, which they are trying to figure out, okay, where we should be going and actually developing the next project. And our platform reduces the time that they need to do that, and also reduces the risk involved with the project, and that's the value proposition for those entities. But in larger energy companies, it might be their sales team, right, as well as the technical team. So in order for them to win businesses, they need to communicate what the value proposition is for their customers, and then so their sales and marketing team also uses the platform in order to communicate in a more compelling value proposition for their customers, so they can win new businesses and generate new or more revenue for their business unit as well. So it really depends on the specific case. Well, I think from our perspective, what we've tried to do, we've tried to develop our processes and also the technology platform in such a scalable way that with minimal efforts from our technical team or commercial team, we can address as many different users and customers. And that's the core of our human-centric design sort of approaches that we're taking as a company, both in product development but also in commercializing technology.
Brilliant, thank you. So thank you very much to the Farad AI team for your presentation. If there are any other questions that you want to get in touch with the Farad AI team, either feel free to come through the catapult or contact them directly. Their details are on the very handy backgrounds being used right now. But otherwise, thanks very much for your presentation. And we will be restarting again after a short break with City Science. So at 10:50, we'll be coming back. But thanks very much, everyone, for your input so far.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks.